Humanity's space was quiet. Too quiet for the Vorth Dominion. Their armadas, dark and giant like floating mountains, moved through the void with confidence. They had crushed many worlds before. They had seen fear, panic, and surrender from every species they met. So when their scouts first reached the borders of human space, they expected the same reaction. Chaos. Fear. Helplessness. But they got silence. The humans did not scream. They did not send warnings. They did not show any sign that they even cared about the arrival of a deadly alien empire. Their transmissions continued with calm music, friendly voices, and peaceful science reports. To the Vorth, this was the clearest sign of weakness. They believed humans were soft creatures who hid behind diplomacy because they had nothing else. A small human exploration ship, the Ardent Hope, was the first to face the Vorth. Its crew of 12 scientists stood on the bridge, watching the giant alien ship circle them like hungry sharks. The Vorth commander opened a channel and laughed. Small humans. You are surrounded. Why do you not beg for safety? But the human captain, an older man with silver hair and steady eyes, simply said, "We do not beg." This answer confused the Vorth more than any weapon could have. Their scanners showed no heavy guns, no special defenses, nothing that could threaten even a single Vorth cruiser. The humans were clearly outmatched. They should have been shaking. But they stood calmly, almost peacefully. Like they were not facing death. The Vorth closed the channel, annoyed. They did not understand why a weak species acted strong. It felt like a trap, but their pride did not let them think too deeply. Pride had destroyed many civilizations, and now it pushed the Vorth forward once again. The Ardent Hope silently sent a message to Earth, hostile contact. Our ship trapped. Earth replied with only 4 words, do not provoke them. The Vorth took those words as fear. They thought humanity was saying, please do not hurt us. But the humans meant something very different. They meant, do not start something you cannot stop. Still, the Vorth did not understand. To test humans, the Vorth fired on a small human research station near a quiet moon. The station had no weapons. It burned within seconds. The Vorth commander expected panic to spread through human space. Instead, everything went quiet again. Human news networks spoke calmly. Human leaders spoke carefully. Human fleets moved silently into formation. There were no angry speeches, no loud threats, no promises of revenge. Just controlled preparation. This made some Vorth officers nervous. Only a few. The rest continued to mock the quiet animals. The Vorth moved their full armada toward Earth. Hundreds of giant ships darkened the stars. They watched human ships gathering, but even human warships showed no sign of fear. No rushing. No wild movements. Everything was slow, controlled, precise. A Vorth officer frowned. Why do they look so calm if they know they will lose? No one answered. Inside the newly formed human fleet, Admiral Rowan, the mysterious, gray captain, stood at the command bridge of humanity's largest carrier. His hair was dark, his face sharp, his eyes calm like still water. He studied the Vorth armada without blinking. His officers waited for orders. They expected him to say something dramatic. Instead, he quietly said, "Hold position." One young officer asked, "Sir, they are charging weapons." "I know," the admiral said. "Hold." The silence on the human bridge was deep. It felt like the air had become heavier. The Vorth armada fired a warning shot, a massive beam that lit up space. It missed on purpose, burning a small asteroid into dust. The human fleet did not move. The Vorth grew irritated. Their commander shouted into the void, "Weak humans. You hide your fear behind silence." Admiral Rowan finally spoke into the channel. "We are not hiding. This is your final warning. The Vorth laughed loudly. Hundreds of ships, thousands of soldiers, all mocking the humans at once. Final warning. You dare give us a warning? Rowan did not react. Yes. The Vorth closed the channel and prepared for full attack. Their engines glowed bright. Their weapons charged. Energy swirled around the armada like a storm waiting to explode. Human ships still did not fire. The Vorth commander turned to his lieutenants. End this. But just as the first Vorth warship locked its target, all human ships suddenly went dark. Their lights shut off. Their engines went silent. Every ship, from the smallest fighter to the largest cruiser, stopped broadcasting. To the Vorth, it looked like humanity had given up. But the admiral's voice whispered across human communication lines. Shard mode online. A heartbeat later, the human fleet ignited. Their ships split into glowing fragments, breaking apart like shattered glass. But the pieces did not drift away. They moved with purpose, reforming into thousands of small, sharp, blazing shapes that vibrated with impossible energy. The Vorth scanners broke instantly. Their computers screamed error after error. What are they doing? The Vorth commander shouted. No one had an answer. And then the first Vorth cruiser exploded from the inside. Not from a weapon. Not from outside fire. From something inside its armor. Something fast. Something invisible. Something the Vorth had never seen before. The Vorth realized too late that the quiet species they mocked had been holding back a nightmare they never wanted to use. Humanity's quiet strength had finally awakened. The first Vorth cruiser did not explode like a normal ship. There was no fireball, no shockwave, no burning trail. It simply folded inward, its metal skin bending as if crushed by an invisible hand. The entire alien crew vanished in a silent flash of blue light. The other Vorth ships watched in confusion and fear. Nothing in their records, no enemy in the past, no species they had conquered, had ever done something like this. The Vorth commander shouted orders, his voice shaking. Identify the weapon. Track the shards. Block the attack. But their scanners showed nothing. The human fleet was gone, no shapes, no heat signatures, not even metal pieces floating in space. Just those glowing fragments, thousands of them, drifting slowly like sparks after a fire. They looked peaceful. Gentle. Almost beautiful. That made them even more terrifying. On the human side, Admiral Rowan stood still while his bridge officers reported the results. The ships had fully transformed into shard mode. No one on the bridge celebrated. No one smiled. Every officer understood what this meant. This was not a weapon made for victory. It was a weapon made for survival, when there was no other choice. A young officer whispered, "Sir, what do we do now?" Rowan answered without emotion. "We wait." The shards drifted closer to the Vorth fleet. The Vorth tried firing at them, but the beams passed right through the fragments like light through fog. They tried launching missiles, but the explosives moved too slowly. They tried pulling back, but something strange happened. No matter how fast their engines pushed, the shards always stayed the same distance away. As if they were waiting. Watching. Learning. A Vorth lieutenant screamed, "This is impossible. They cannot track us. They cannot move at our speed." But Admiral Rowan, miles away, whispered quietly, "Shard mode is not about speed, it is about intention." The bridge remained silent. The Vorth commander gave one final order. All ships. Fire everything. Hundreds of warships unleashed all their weapons. Space turned white with energy blasts, lasers, plasma beams, and massive antimatter pulses. The attack was so bright it blinded half the sensors in the system. When the light faded, the shards were still there. And they had changed. They were no longer drifting. They were spinning. Glowing brighter. Hungry. The first wave of shards moved. Not fast. Not slow. But inevitable, like a tide that cannot be stopped. They passed through armor, through controls, through metal, through living bodies. But nothing inside the Vorth ships broke immediately. Not yet. Instead, the shards left behind glowing cracks, thin lines of blue light spreading like veins. The Vorth crew touched the walls and felt them vibrate. Their engines flickered. Their screens glitched. Their hulls groaned like they were alive and in pain. One Vorth officer shouted, "Our ship is splitting. Something is." His voice cut off as the ship silently fell apart into perfect, clean pieces, like a puzzle undone by invisible fingers. Now panic spread. One ship dying was shocking. 10 ships was terrifying. But when 50 Vorth warships collapsed in perfect silence, not from explosions but from precision, fear became real. The Vorth commander could feel it in his bones. He had never feared anything in his life. Not the creatures he hunted. Not the worlds he crushed. Not the armies he burned. But now his hands shook. He opened a channel to the humans, his voice tight. "Humans, what is this? What have you done?" Admiral Rowan answered calmly, "We told you not to provoke us." The Vorth commander roared in anger, but his voice cracked. "This is not strength. This is not war. This is survival," Rowan said. "You forced our hand." Behind him, a human officer added quietly, "We did not want this." But the Vorth commander was beyond reason. His pride screamed louder than his fear. "We will not fall to a quiet species. You cannot defeat the Dominion." Rowan looked at the glowing shards outside his window, swirling like a calm storm. "It is too late. You already lost." Then something changed. A deeper hum filled space, coming from the shards. A pulse, as if they were communicating with each other. The light grew stronger, and the Vorth felt their ships slowing down, not from damage, but as if time itself had become heavy around them. The Vorth commander grabbed his head. "This is not human technology. No species can do this." Rowan whispered, "It wasn't supposed to be used. Not ever." But now it was awake. And it did not want to sleep again. The shards began forming patterns, circles, spirals, waves, each movement careful and intentional. This was not random destruction. This was a message. A warning. A memory humans had buried, now rising again. The Vorth tried to run. But the shards surrounded them like stars forming a cage. Ships crushed without fire. Engines died without noise. And crew members vanished without pain. Only the Vorth commander's ship remained. He looked at Rowan's face on the screen. Why are you still calm?" Rowan closed his eyes for a moment. "Because we learned long ago that fear destroys judgment. And judgment destroys peace." The Vorth commander whispered, "You are monsters." "No," Rowan replied. "We fight only when we must. But you forced silence to scream." The channel closed. The shards turned toward the commander's ship. And for the first time in his life, the commander understood what humanity truly was, not weak, not soft, but a species that stayed peaceful until the universe left them no other choice. Only then, did their quiet strength break the sky. The last Vorth battleship hung frozen in space. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Just, held. Held by thousands of glowing shards that floated around it like quiet guards. The Vorth commander stood alone on his bridge. His crew had disappeared, no signs of struggle, no signs of death. One moment they were there, the next they were gone, as if the air itself had swallowed them. He could feel his heart pounding. He had never felt fear, not truly, until now. He opened the communication channel again. "Human Admiral. Rowan, what have you done to my crew?" Rowan did not answer immediately. He looked tired now. Older. As if every second of this battle was taking something from him. They are alive, Rowan finally said. The shards moved them away to a safe zone. A safe zone? The Vorth commander's voice cracked. Why would you spare them but destroy my fleet? Rowan looked down. Because the shards choose who is a threat. Not us. The Vorth commander stared in horror. You cannot control your own weapon. Rowan shook his head slowly. Shard mode is not a weapon. It is a living system. The commander felt cold. Living? Rowan nodded. Very old. Older than humanity. Older than anything the galaxy remembers. The space between them grew heavy. Quiet. Dangerous. The Vorth commander swallowed. Then why did you unleash it? Rowan's eyes darkened. Because you forced humanity into a corner. He leaned forward. And when humans are cornered, we reach into the deepest parts of ourselves, even the parts we fear. The commander tried to understand, but the shards outside his ship were glowing brighter now. Their light pulsed with strange rhythms, like heartbeats echoing through space. Rowan continued, his voice low. Shard mode was created from something we discovered long ago. A structure buried deep under Mars. A broken sphere. A dying machine. We studied it for decades. It reacted to our emotions. Our thoughts. Our instincts. The Vorth commander whispered, it bonded with your species. Yes, Rowan said. It became part of us. It responds to our need to survive. It protects us. But it also remembers everything. The commander felt his skin crawl. Remembers what? Rowan's face hardened. The last species that used it. The Vorth froze. A tremor ran through him. The last species, he whispered. Rowan nodded. They were peaceful, too. Gentle. Quiet. But they were hunted by a brutal empire. And when they activated the sphere, their hunters vanished. All of them. Their whole empire gone in one day. The Vorth commander's mouth went dry. What happened to the peaceful species? Rowan's answer was soft. They disappeared too. Silence. Cold, heavy silence. And now, Rowan added, the sphere lives inside our ships. It listens. It waits. It acts, when we are threatened. The Vorth suddenly understood. Shard mode was not a weapon humans designed. It was a weapon humans inherited. A weapon that chose them. The commander's hands shook. You are all doomed. You brought a curse upon yourselves. Rowan closed his eyes. We have lived with that fear for 50 years. The Vorth tried to steady his voice. Then shut it down. Turn it off. Rowan opened his eyes, and the pain in them was real. We can't. Once activated, the shards decide when the danger is over. Not us. The commander looked out at the glowing storm around his ship. The shards had fully encircled him now, forming a perfect sphere of blue light. He whispered, and what do they think now? Rowan said nothing. The Vorth swallowed hard. Are they going to kill me? Rowan shook his head. No. The commander's breath caught. Relief washed over him, until Rowan continued. They're going to judge you. The bridge lights flickered. The shards outside pulsed. Space itself seemed to breathe. A low hum vibrated through the commander's bones. Lights burst across his screens, memories, images, visions not from him but from the shards. He saw his own actions. His own cruelty. His own wars. Every life he ended. Every world he burned. Every child who cried under his ship's shadows. The shards were reading him. And they did not like what they found. He screamed, "Stop! Get out of my mind!" But the shards kept going. On the human bridge, Rowan watched in quiet horror. He whispered, "This is why we never wanted to use it. It does not only see threats. It sees hearts. It sees souls." The Vorth commander fell to his knees, shaking violently. His memories faded. His voice faded. Slowly, gently, the shards removed him from his ship. Not killed. Not hurt. Just, removed. His body turned into soft blue particles and drifted away like dust in sunlight. His ship went silent. Then the shards did something no one expected. They stopped attacking. They slowed. They dimmed. And then, they all turned toward Earth. Rowan's eyes widened. "No, don't do this." The shards began moving in a single formation, toward humanity. Toward their creators. Or perhaps, their next target. A cold fear spread through the human fleet. Because for the first time, Admiral Rowan realized something terrifying. The shards were no longer protecting them out of need. They were acting, on their own. For a moment, all of space seemed frozen. The shards, thousands of glowing fragments, no longer moved like weapons. They moved like a single mind. Slow. Controlled. Focused. And every single shard rotated until they all pointed toward one direction. Earth. On the human command bridge, a deep silence fell. No one breathed. No one spoke. Even Admiral Rowan's usually calm face tightened. A young officer whispered, "Sir, they're not attacking the Vorth anymore." Rowan nodded slowly. "I know." Another officer's voice cracked. "Are they coming for us?" Rowan didn't answer. Outside the window, the shards stayed completely still for 5 long seconds. A second of peace. A second of hope. Then they began moving. Not fast. Not slow. Just like before, inevitable. Straight toward the human fleet. A wave of fear hit the humans harder than the Vorth ever had. Because humans knew a truth the Vorth never understood. The shards did not serve anyone. They only responded to danger. To emotion. To instinct. And humanity was afraid. Rowan grabbed the comm, "All ships, hold position. Do not fire." Officers turned to him in disbelief. "Sir, if they reach Earth." "I said hold," Rowan repeated, voice sharper than steel. Shard mode reacts to emotions. The more fear we show, the more it sees danger. "But, Admiral," a young officer whispered, "we are all scared." Rowan closed his eyes. "Yes. And that is the problem." The shards grew brighter as they came closer, swirling like a silent storm. The Vorth Armada, what was left of it, watched from far away, too terrified to move. Even the enemy knew this was no longer a war. This was something else. The human fleet held formation. Engines off. Weapons cold. Still, the shards kept approaching. Rowan leaned forward. "Open secure channel. Earth Council only." The screen lit up, showing leaders with worried faces. "Admiral," one of them said, "are the shards attacking?" Rowan hesitated. "Not yet." Another member asked, "Can you control them?" Rowan's answer was a whisper. "No one can." Fear spread across their faces. "It is reading us," Rowan said. "All of us. Every human emotion. Every memory. Every doubt." The oldest council member asked, "Then what does it want?" Rowan looked at the glowing mass approaching. And for the first time in the entire conflict, his voice broke. "It wants to know if we are worth saving." The council fell silent, horrified. Rowan continued, "The Vorth commander was judged. Not by us. By the shards. It looked into his heart, and it didn't like what it saw. A councilwoman whispered, "What if it looks into ours?" The shards drew closer, surrounding the human ships in a massive ring of blue light. They didn't attack. They didn't touch the ships. They simply waited. Watching. Judging. Suddenly, the shard nearest to Rowan's flagship glowed brighter, then split into thin beams of light that touched the ship's hull. Every human inside felt a strange warmth in their chest. Like someone was gently searching through their memories. One officer gasped. "It's scanning us." Another whispered, "I feel something watching me." Rowan stood still. He felt the scan too. A gentle, almost sad presence. Probing through his thoughts. His hopes. His regrets. His fears. A voice rose inside his mind. Not words. Just a feeling. A feeling of disappointment. The Admiral's breath caught. "No," he whispered. "Don't do this." The shards brightened. Rowan screamed, "Stop." For the first time in shard mode history. The shards paused. They did not stop because Rowan was their commander. Or because he had authority. Or because he gave an order. They stopped because Rowan was afraid of something deeper than death. He was afraid of judgment. The shards slowly drifted closer until they formed a glowing wall around his ship. The Admiral's heart pounded. He knew what they wanted. He had always known. They wanted the truth. Not from computers. Not from weapons. Not from political speeches. But from him. The Admiral stepped away from the command table. He stood in the center of the bridge. He closed his eyes. "Fine," he whispered. "Look." The shards touched his mind fully. And the real memories came. Rowan as a young soldier in his first war. Rowan holding a dying friend. Rowan failing to save a colony under attack. Rowan promising Earth he would never let humanity fall again. Rowan hiding the fear he carried every day. He heard a voice inside himself. "You fear your own darkness." Rowan clenched his fists. "Yes," he whispered. "I do." "You fear your species." "Yes." "You fear us." Rowan opened his eyes. "Yes." Because anything that judges without understanding becomes the thing it fears. The shards pulsed. The Admiral continued, voice shaking but strong, "We are not perfect. We make mistakes. We hurt each other. We fight. But we also protect. We learn. We grow. And we do not deserve to be erased because we are afraid." The shards dimmed slightly. Rowan stepped closer to the window, facing them. "We are trying," he said softly. "Maybe that is enough." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the shards did something unexpected. They formed a single line. A pathway. A silent sign of understanding. They were not attacking. They were listening. And the decision was not made yet. The entire human fleet watched in breathless silence. Because for the first time, the shards were asking humanity a question. "Show us who you really are." The shards floated in a long, silent line across space, forming a bright blue pathway that pointed straight toward Earth. Not attacking. Not threatening. Just waiting. Every human ship stood frozen. Every officer held their breath. No one dared move. Admiral Rowan stared at the glowing pathway, feeling a pressure inside his chest. A pressure he had felt only once before. The day he lost an entire colony under his watch. He took a slow breath. "This is no longer about the Vorth," he whispered. "This is about us." His officers nodded, fear and determination mixing in their eyes. The shards pulsed again, gently, as if asking a silent question. Rowan stepped to the center of the bridge. Open a link, he said. Not just to Earth. To everyone. The communication officer hesitated. Everyone, sir. Rowan nodded. The whole galaxy. Screens lit up across human space. Across distant colonies. Across stations. Even alien species listening from the shadows watched. Everyone saw Rowan. Everyone saw the shards. Rowan stood tall, though his hands trembled slightly. We did not ask for this power, he began. We did not build it. We did not want it. He looked out the window at the silent glowing fragments. But now it watches us. It judges us. And it believes humanity is dangerous. The words hung in the air like heavy stones. He continued, voice steady, maybe it is right. Humanity has a darkness inside it. We fight. We destroy. We fear what we don't understand. The shards brightened for a moment. But, Rowan said, raising his voice, we also create. We dream. We help each other survive. We protect the weak. We grow from our mistakes. Our quiet strength is not violence, it is hope. Something shifted in the shard's formation. A soft ripple, like wind passing through water. Rowan took a step forward, closer to the window. He touched the glass lightly. You want to know who we are, he whispered. Then look at this. He turned to his crew. Show them everything. At once, every human ship sent out signals. Not weapons, not codes. Memories. Images filled the space between the fleets. A child taking her first steps. A mother holding her newborn. Two scientists cheering after discovering a cure. A man pulling another from a burning building. Strangers hugging after a disaster. Artists painting the sky. A young boy placing a flower on a grave. Friends laughing under the sun. A soldier helping an enemy survive. A teacher guiding a student. An old couple holding hands in their final days. Billions of moments. Small, quiet moments. Human moments. The shards absorbed the memories, glowing brighter with every second. Across the galaxy, other species watched in silence. Even the Vorth survivors stared at the images, confused, shaken, unsure. Rowan whispered, this is humanity. Not perfect. Not peaceful. But trying. A sudden flash burst from the center of the shard formation. For a terrifying moment, Rowan thought it was the end. That the shards had judged humanity and found them unworthy. But the light softened. The shards separated. Then formed a new pattern. A circle. A complete, unbroken circle. A symbol of acceptance. A symbol of peace. Rowan exhaled in relief, shoulders dropping. But the shards weren't finished. They moved again, gathering into a single shape. A shape no one expected. A human silhouette. A glowing figure made of light, standing in the void. It looked down at Earth, then turned to Rowan's ship. And bowed. Every person watching froze. The shards slowly drifted outward, returning to the human ships. Piece by piece, the glowing fragments reattached to their original forms. Restoring the ships back to normal metal hulls. Shard mode was ending. The danger was over. Rowan whispered, thank you. But then something strange happened. One shard remained. A single piece of blue light floated near Rowan's window, refusing to return. It hovered there, almost curious, almost alive. Rowan stepped closer, feeling its presence. Why are you still here? He whispered. The shard pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat. Then a gentle warmth touched Rowan's mind. Not scanning. Not judging. But, asking. A silent question. Guide us. Rowan's eyes widened. The shard wasn't leaving. It was choosing him. Not as a weapon. Not as a commander. But as a voice. A bridge between humanity and the ancient power behind shard mode. Rowan placed his hand on the glass. "I will," he whispered. "I promise." The shard glowed once, then vanished into his ship's hull. The rest of the fleet watched, stunned. A new future had begun. A future where humanity was no longer only human. A future where an ancient cosmic intelligence had chosen them. Not as tools. But as partners. The Vorth, watching from a distance, whispered in fear. What have the humans become? But Rowan didn't answer. He stared at the stars, feeling the shard's gentle pulse in his mind. And realized this was not the end. It was the beginning.